Is this some kind of joke? A field trip to Pittsburgh? What are we supposed to learn in a country that can't even provide universal health care? What is a Nobel Prize in science even worth if your people go bankrupt from a hospital visit? This was the prevailing sentiment among Germany's brightest high school students, the future Ivy League elite. Yet, within 30 minutes of landing at Pittsburgh International Airport, their entire worldview would begin to shatter. No one could have predicted that in this corner of America's Rust Belt, a region we had dismissed with condescending pity, the top minds of Germany would find the turning point of their lives. Only now do I understand just how arrogant I was. What could possibly cause such a monumental shift in Germany's academic vanguard? This is the story of that incredible 7-day journey. Hello, everyone. My name is Maximilian Hohenzollern, a junior at the Helmholtz Gymnasium in Heidelberg, Germany. Have you heard of my school? Probably not, but let me put it this way. We are one of Germany's top preparatory schools, with an 85% acceptance rate into Ivy League and equivalent universities. I've already received early admission to MIT. My friends are all expecting offers from Harvard, Yale, and Stanford. We are the future of Germany, destined to become the world's next leaders. But then, in March 2024, we received terrible news. To all students, the headmaster's voice boomed through the assembly hall. It is with great regret that I must inform you that the planned trip to Silicon Valley has been canceled. The hall erupted in chaos. Due to budgetary issues, we will be changing our destination to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh? Katerina asked, her face a mask of disbelief. Katerina, who was aiming for Harvard Medical School and had already been published in Nature, looked personally offended. Yes, Pittsburgh. We will be based there for 1 week. Hold on, Lucas interjected, raising his hand. We're trading Silicon Valley for Pittsburgh? Instead of visiting Google and Apple, what are we going to see? A closed-down steel mill? I wondered the same thing. What did Pittsburgh even have besides a football team and a gritty industrial past? Primanti sandwiches and pierogies, I guess, Elena quipped with a sarcastic laugh. Are they sending us there to experience the authentic taste of industrial decline? The headmaster sighed. Everyone, Pittsburgh is a city with a great deal to learn from. Learn what? I asked, my voice sharp. We're heading to the world's top universities. What could we possibly learn in the American Rust Belt? That night, the dormitory was in an uproar. This is insane, Katerina fumed. I'm swamped preparing for my Stanford medical interviews, and now I have to waste a week in Pittsburgh? Exactly, Lucas grumbled. I could be using this time to prep for the urban design competition. Elena was on the phone with her parents. Dad, the school is sending us to Pittsburgh instead of Silicon Valley. Does that make any sense to you? But the school's decision was final. The day before our departure, we packed our bags with resignation. It's only a week. It'll be over before we know it, Katerina sighed. Right. Just think of it as a rustic vacation, Lucas shrugged. On the plane, I looked up some facts about the city. It was a hub for robotics and artificial intelligence research. Its GDP was respectable for a city its size, but it was no New York or San Francisco. A Rust Belt city that had reinvented itself. Impressive for them, I suppose, but a far cry from the global powerhouses of Germany or the West Coast. Hey, look at this, Elena said, holding out her phone. It showed an article about the American education system. It says American students are notoriously overworked with busy work and standardized tests, but critical thinking and creativity are often stifled by a rigid curriculum. And for all that work, their top students still lag behind in international math and science competitions, Katerina scoffed. All that effort and they can't even produce consistent results. I had to agree. Exactly. You have to study efficiently like us. What's the point of just working hard? After a 9-hour flight, we landed at Pittsburgh International Airport. Just 1 week, I told my friends. Let's just endure it. We had no idea that this week would become the most unforgettable experience of my life. Upon arrival, as we waited in the customs line, Katerina announced she was going to the restroom. We looked around the airport. Honestly, the first impression isn't bad, Lucas admitted. It's clean and more modern than I expected. It's on par with Munich Airport, Elena added, slightly surprised. But 15 minutes passed, and Katerina hadn't returned. What's wrong? I texted her, concerned. Suddenly, she ran towards us, her face pale. It's bad. My wallet is gone. What? We were all shocked. I think I left it in the restroom. My Hermes wallet. It had 200 euros, $500, and all my credit cards. Katerina's wallet was a birthday gift worth over 1,000 euros. Let's go find it. As we were about to dash back to the restroom, an elderly janitor in a blue uniform came shuffling towards us, breathing heavily. "Excuse me, miss, does this belong to you?" In his wrinkled hand was Katerina's distinct orange Hermes wallet. "Oh my God, my wallet!" Katerina was so relieved she was on the verge of tears. With trembling hands, she opened it and her eyes widened. Everything was there. The cash, the credit cards, nothing was missing. The old janitor smiled warmly. "Glad I found you. Be more careful next time, young lady." He started to walk away, expecting nothing in return. "Wait, sir!" Katerina fumbled to pull a $100 bill from her wallet, but he quickly waved his hand, refusing. No, that's not necessary. Just doing my job." We were all stunned. "How is that possible? In Berlin, that would have been gone for good," Lucas said, incredulous. Elena was equally astonished. I was speechless. This was unimaginable in Germany. A designer wallet worth over €1,000, filled with cash, returned with every single item intact. As we went through immigration, we couldn't stop talking about it. Are all Americans like this? Katerina was still in disbelief. What was even more surprising was the immigration process itself. The automated global entry kiosks were incredibly fast and efficient. "Wow, this is faster than in Germany," Lucas remarked. After collecting our bags, our American guide was waiting for us. "Hello, students from Helmholtz Gymnasium. Welcome to Pittsburgh." Amazingly, the guide, a man who introduced himself as David, spoke fluent German. "Your German is excellent," Elena said, impressed. "Thank you. I spent 5 years studying at the University of Frankfurt and taught a course on American history there," he explained. On the way to the hotel, I looked out the window. The highways were well maintained, and the road signs were clear. "Pittsburgh International was actually once named the best airport in the country," David explained. "And this city has one of the lowest crime rates for a major U.S. city. What you experienced getting a lost item back is actually quite common here." "Really?" Katerina asked. "What about the crime rate?" "The homicide rate is around 17 per 100,000 people, which might be higher than in Germany on paper, but for a tourist, daily life is incredibly safe." We looked at each other. Higher than Germany, but safe? And women can travel alone at night in the business and university districts without any problem. Public transport runs late, and you'll find 24-hour convenience stores and diners everywhere. So? Seriously? Women can walk alone at night? Elena asked skeptically. "Absolutely," David said. "My daughter has a late-night study session at the university that ends at 10 p.m. She takes the bus home alone. I never worry." Just then, Lucas whispered to me, "Hey, this place doesn't seem like what we imagined." I felt the same way. We had looked down on this American city, but it seemed we were completely wrong. When we got to the hotel, we were still talking about the incident at the airport. "Maybe it was just a fluke," I suggested. But Katerina shook her head. "No. Did you see the look in that janitor's eyes? He genuinely felt it was the right thing to do." That night, I couldn't sleep. What kind of place was this? My preconceived notions were beginning to crack. Jet lag kept us wide awake. It was 1 a.m., and we were starving. "I'm hungry," Lucas complained. "Me too. Is anything open?" Elena started searching on her phone. Suddenly, Katerina gasped. "Guys, there are dozens of 24-hour places open right now. At 1 a.m., I couldn't believe it. I checked my own phone. It was true. In the Oakland neighborhood, home to the universities, dozens of diners and shops were still open. We were puzzled. In Germany, almost everything is closed at night. "Should we go check it out?" I suggested. "Is it safe? Will it be dangerous?" Elena worried. We texted our guide, David, and got an instant reply. "Not at all. You'll be perfectly fine. Enjoy." We left the hotel, still a bit apprehensive. But when we arrived in Oakland, our jaws dropped. At 2 a.m., the streets were brightly lit, and people were walking around calmly. "Is this for real?" Lucas exclaimed. Even more astonishing was the number of women walking alone wearing headphones, looking at their phones, without a trace of anxiety. "That girl is by herself," Katerina said in disbelief. "You would never see this in Berlin," Elena shook her head. We stepped into a classic American diner. It was huge, and, to our amazement, almost full at 2 a.m. Most of the patrons were reading. Textbooks and notebooks covered their tables. High schoolers, university students, even young professionals. "Studying at 2 a.m., Lucas whispered, his eyes wide. We found an empty booth and asked the waitress as we ordered coffee, "Is it always this busy?" "Oh yeah." It gets even crazier during finals week. We're open 24/7. Katerina looked around. It feels so safe. There are so many women here. Just then, an American university student at the next table turned to us. Hey, you guys aren't from around here, are you? Where are you from? Germany, Elena replied. Oh, cool. I've always wanted to visit Germany. But I hear it can be pretty dangerous at night in the big cities. Is that true? We looked at each other. Americans thought Germany was dangerous. You have to be careful at night, I admitted. It's so safe here, she said. I come here to study at this time almost every night. It's a 30-minute walk back to my apartment, and I'm not scared at all. By yourself? Katerina asked, amazed. Of course, everyone does it here. And after she returned to her books, we drank our coffee in stunned silence. This country is not what we thought, Lucas said grimly. On the way back to the hotel, we saw more. Across the street, another 24-hour spot had people eating inside. A food truck was selling hot dogs. The city's light rail, the TT, was still running. A 24-hour city. It actually exists, Elena said in admiration. Suddenly, Katerina stopped. Look, across the street, 2 police officers on patrol. And night patrol, I noted. But Katerina pointed to a young woman who walked right past the officers without a second glance. In Germany, even if you see the police at night, you still feel a bit on edge. But here, they seem to be seen as actual protectors. When we got back to the hotel, we gathered in the lobby. Today was just one shock after another, I said. Starting with the wallet at the airport, Katerina nodded. And women walking alone at night, that was incredible, Elena added. We thought we came from a developed country, Lucas said seriously. But in some ways, this place seems more advanced. I had to agree. That night, I didn't fall asleep until after 3 a.m. I realized Pittsburgh wasn't just a city of old steel mills. This sense of safety. Perhaps this was a true measure of a developed society. What other shocks awaited us tomorrow? On day 2, we visited Carnegie Mellon University. It probably can't compare to Harvard or MIT, Lucas said confidently. Of course not. Look at the world rankings. The universities we're going to are all in the top 10, Elena agreed. But the moment we stepped onto the campus, we felt different. The grounds were beautiful, with lush greenery, a mix of historic stone buildings and futuristic glass structures. Wow, it's more beautiful than I thought, Katerina admitted. Our guide took us to the School of Computer Science, to the Robotics Institute. Hi, I'm Shannon, a junior in the Computer Science department. A student greeted us in perfect, unaccented English. I'll be your guide. Feel free to ask any questions. When we entered the lab, we were stunned again. It was filled with state-of-the-art equipment, with multiple advanced projects running simultaneously. What's this? Lucas asked, pointing to a fleet of sophisticated-looking vehicles. That's our autonomous vehicle development platform, Shannon explained. We're creating the perception and path planning algorithms that will power the next generation of self-driving cars. Our tech is already being tested by companies like Uber and Ford. University students are doing this? I asked, astonished. Yes. Our team is made up of 12 undergrads. The professors just advise us. Just then, Katerina asked, is it possible to see the computational biology lab? Sure. My friend David is a biomed student. Let me call him. 30 minutes later, we were in a lab at the Mellon College of Science. Our guide was David, a sophomore. This is our genomic research lab. You might have seen our paper published in Cell last year on CRISPR-based gene therapies. Katerina's eyes widened. That was from CMU? I cited that paper in my own research. Really? What's your research focus? The two of them launched into a highly technical discussion. Katerina's expression grew more and more serious. The level of knowledge of this American student was second to none. Want to join us for lunch? David offered. We can continue our chat at the Student Center. On the way to lunch, we passed the university library open 24 hours a day, with students collaborating everywhere. At the food court, several other American students joined our table from business, political science, physics, and more. I hear you're from Germany, said Arthur, a political science major. How about a debate? Sure, Elena replied confidently. What's the topic? The future of NATO and the viability of European strategic autonomy. As the debate began, we started to panic. The logic and knowledge of the American students were formidable. The EU began as an economic union, but it's far more culturally and politically fragmented than NATO's core security mission. A different approach is needed, Arthur argued in fluent, persuasive English. But the German-centric model of European integration has failed to solve the economic disparities between East and West, hasn't it? Countered Sarah, a business major, with a sharp point. Elena tried to argue back, but their logic was airtight, backed by concrete data and examples. An hour later, the debate was over. We had been thoroughly defeated. That was great. You German students are really sharp, Arthur said with a smile, which only made us feel worse. On the way back to the lab, a physics major named Ben asked me, "I heard you're heading to MIT. I'm hoping to apply there for my PhD next year. Any advice?" "Oh, sure. But why not do your PhD here?" I asked. "I plan to do my master's here first, then go. The faculty here is world-class, especially in quantum physics. In some fields, Pittsburgh is actually ahead of the curve." I was surprised again. Quantum computing, Pittsburgh was ahead? Before we left the university, David handed Katerina his contact card. "If you ever want to collaborate on research, let me know. If you end up at Harvard, we could do some amazing work together." Katerina accepted the card with a complex expression. The bus ride back was silent. Everyone was in shock. "We lost," Elena said, drained. "Their English seemed better than ours," Lucas admitted. "And their research is just as advanced," Katerina added. I stared out the window, thinking about how arrogant we had been. We thought getting into the Ivy League made us the best. "I just realized, these people are going to be our competition," I murmured. "Competition?" Lucas gave a dry laugh. "It feels like they're already ahead of us." That night at the hotel, we had a serious talk. "We thought we were the best," Elena said. "The American students are more diligent, more humble, and more collaborative than us," Katerina analyzed. "And their English is perfect. We take pride in going to an English-speaking university, but for them, it's just the baseline," Lucas sighed. Shannon's words from earlier echoed in my head. "The competition here is intense, but it pushes us all to grow together. You guys keep fighting the good fight, too. A culture that encourages each other even amidst fierce competition. That seemed to be America's strength." On day 3, we visited a leading technology firm's headquarters in a sprawling campus just outside the city. Let's call it Allegheny Robotics. "It's probably just an assembly plant for some electronic parts, right?" said Tobias, whose father was a senior executive at Siemens, giving him a certain pride in German industry. But as we entered the tech park, that idea was completely shattered. "Is this a company or a city?" Lucas gasped. It looked like a small town, with dozens of research buildings and state-of-the-art employee facilities. Our guide was Dr. Sam Chen, the head of research, a graduate of MIT. "Hello, everyone. Like you, I studied abroad, but I came back. Today, I'll show you why." First, we visited the Autonomous Systems Institute. We're currently a world leader in producing perception sensors for electric and autonomous vehicles. We're also developing bio-integrated chips that can be implanted in the human body. "Bio-integrated chips? Is that possible?" I asked, astounded. "We're already in the prototype stage. We aim for commercial production in the next 2 years." Tobias asked, "You make semiconductors for cars too?" "Of course. Mercedes, Benz, BMW, Audi, they are all our clients. We are a key supplier of the chips for their autonomous driving systems." Tobias looked Polly. He had just learned that his own country's automotive giants depended on technology from America's Rust Belt. Next was the AI Chip Research Institute. Katerina was particularly interested. "Here, we develop next-generation AI accelerators. Look at this chip." He held up a chip the size of a fingernail. "This chip can run medical AI models directly on a smartphone for preliminary disease analysis. It's 10 times more power efficient than the current generation." "And so." "Impossible," Katerina breathed. "It's very possible. It goes on sale next year. Apple and Google have already placed massive pre-orders." At the Quantum Computing Research Institute, another shock awaited us. "This is a quantum chip developed by our team right here in Pittsburgh. It's currently the most stable in the world. Would you like a demonstration?" A researcher ran a complex quantum algorithm. The result appeared instantly. "That's faster than IBM's," Lucas said in disbelief. "That's right. The United States is one of the world's leaders in quantum computing research." We had lunch with the company's employees, most of them young engineers. "Why not work abroad? The salaries in Silicon Valley are higher, aren't they?" I asked one of them. The engineer smiled. "It's more exciting here. We get to build the world's most advanced technology firsthand, and this region is becoming the robotics capital of the world. There's no reason to leave." Humsex. In the afternoon, we visited their innovation showcase. Flexible display chips, brain-computer interface chips, semiconductors for use in space. These are just prototypes, right? Lucas asked, unable to believe his eyes. Yes, all scheduled for commercial release within 2 to 3 years. Finally, we visited the Biochip Research Institute. You do biotech here too? Tobias asked, surprised. We're developing DNA, computing chips that can diagnose and treat diseases directly inside the human body. As the tour concluded, Dr. Chen said, America may have its problems, but we move the world with our technology. You all must dream big too. On the bus back, there was another heavy silence. How am I going to tell my dad? Tobias held his head in his hands. German industry can't function without technology from here. I thought medicine was the most advanced field, Katerina said, equally stunned. What we plan to develop in the next 10 years, they're doing right now, Lucas summarized. I felt my German pride crumbling. Germany, the land of Vorsprung durch Technik, was a relic of the past compared to this. But what's more amazing, Elena said, is that those people are genuinely having fun building the future. It was true. The eyes of the American engineers were alive with passion, not a sense of corporate drudgery, but a genuine love for their work. When we got back to the hotel, the shock hadn't faded. What are we even going to the Ivy League for? I laughed at myself. Right? Maybe we should have applied to school in Pittsburgh, Katerina half-joked. That night, I wrote in my diary, today, I saw the future, and the future is being built in America. On day 4, we visited a top magnet high school, the Shenley Academy for Science and Technology. How smart can high school students be? Lucas said, trying to regain some confidence. But as soon as we entered the school, that confidence evaporated. At 7:30 a.m., the school was already buzzing with students. We heard multiple languages in the hallways. Did that student just speak Japanese? Elena asked, surprised. The principal greeted us. Welcome. Our students are very excited to meet peers from such a famous German school. The first class we observed was an English debate. The topic, Human-AI Coexistence. A student stood up and began his presentation in flawless English, while I took notes in German. The development of AI is inevitable, but human creativity and emotion are irreplaceable. His accent was perfect, but what was more stunning was his logic. It was at the level of a graduate student. How old is that student? Katerina whispered. 17, the teacher next to us replied. When the debate began, it was even more astounding. Students fluidly switched between English, Spanish, and other languages to make their points. During the break, a student approached us. Hello, my name is Noah. I'm a junior. He spoke fluent German. How many languages do you speak? I asked. English, Spanish, Mandarin, Japanese, and I'm learning German. So, 4.5. We all gaped. That's about average here, he said. You're expected to know at least 3 or 4. Next was a math class. This is university-level mathematics, isn't it? I looked at the complex equations on the board. Advanced multivariable calculus. Our juniors are expected to have completed it, the teacher explained. A student went to the board to solve a problem. Even though I was an MIT-bound math whiz, the speed at which he solved it was breathtaking. Lunchtime in the cafeteria was even more shocking. Students were eating while memorizing vocabulary or listening to lectures on headphones. Even their lunch break is for studying, Elena remarked. Time is precious, one student smiled at us. If you learn one new word a day, that's 365 inches a year. In the afternoon, we observed club activities. The science club was conducting a university-level experiment. The Model UN Club was simulating a Security Council meeting. Last year, we sent 4 students to Harvard, 3 to Yale, and 5 to Stanford. A student guide told us proudly. They had the same goals as us, but their level of preparation was on another plane entirely. After school, the campus became even more active. The library was packed. Classes end, but many of us stay to study until 10 p.m., Noah explained. Then we go home and study until 1 a.m. Katerina couldn't believe it. Aren't you exhausted? It's fun. Learning new things is exciting. Just then, a female student came up. You're Katerina, right? I read your paper in Nature. How did you know? Your stem cell research was brilliant. I'm applying for pre-med too. Could I ask you a few questions? A high school student who had read and understood a paper in Nature. Before we left, Noah told us, you probably think American students are just study machines, but we're studying to build a better world. You guys keep fighting too. On the bus, we were speechless. What were we doing at their age? Lucas murmured. Playing video games and going to parties, Tobias said, ashamed. In 5 years, those kids, Elena started, will be our real competition, I finished. Katerina spoke with grim determination. We thought we were geniuses, but there are hundreds of kids like that here. That night, for the first time, I felt afraid. We believed German education was the best, but compared to the passion of these Americans, it seemed pale. How could we compete with them? An even bigger question arose. Why were we even studying in the first place? On day 5, we explored some of Pittsburgh's culture, visiting the Andy Warhol Museum and riding the Duquesne Incline. Finally, some sightseeing, Tobias said wearily. But the Warhol Museum captivated us with its bold, irreverent art. This all came from one artist over 50 years ago? Elena said in disbelief. Our guide, David, explained, America places great importance on cultural innovation and reinvention. This place is part of the city's heart. How has it been preserved so well? I asked. Because Pittsburghers are proud of their history of transformation from an industrial giant to a center for arts, medicine, and technology. The Duquesne Incline, a century-old funicular climbing Mount Washington, gave us an even deeper impression. From the top, we saw the city's dramatic skyline, where historic bridges and old brick buildings stood beside gleaming new skyscrapers. These relics show the city's prosperous past, Katerina noted. A local historian at the viewpoint explained, Pittsburgh is a place that has masterfully preserved its identity while embracing modernity. This balance is America's strength. That night, we went to the Strip District, a bustling market neighborhood. Hundreds of stalls lined the street, the air filled with the smells of different foods. What is that? Lucas pointed to a bizarre-looking sandwich at a place called Primanti Brothers. That's the famous Pittsburgh sandwich. They put the French fries and coleslaw right inside. You have to try it. We all did. It was messy and unconventional, but surprisingly delicious. Everyone applauded Katerina for finishing hers first. As we walked through the market, we felt the energy of the American people. It was past 10 p.m., but families were still out. Shopkeepers greeted customers warmly. This is nothing like the markets in Germany, Tobias admitted. Life here feels like a festival, Elena admired. The owner of a coffee shop struck up a conversation with us. From Germany? I love German beer, he boomed, before treating us to a round of local craft sodas. When in Pittsburgh, you drink Iron City beer, or Wiggle whiskey. This mix of tradition and modernity, that's the American style. 1. On the way back to the hotel, we processed what we'd seen. A country that cherishes its past while racing toward the future, Katerina said. This is the dual identity of America, I agreed. On day 6, we visited a startup incubator called Alpha Lab. Don't most startups fail? Tobias said skeptically. German culture values stability. But inside the building, the atmosphere was electric with energy. Hi, I'm Meisha, the accelerator manager here. A dynamic 8-year-old woman greeted us. Today, I'll introduce you to 2 of our unicorn companies. Unicorns? Katerina was surprised. America has so many of them. This city alone has a handful, and more are on the way. The first was an AI healthcare platform. Hi, I'm Ben, the CEO, said a 7-year-old. I founded the company in my senior year of college. We now have 250 employees and are valued at $1.2 billion. He showed us an AI that could diagnose 20 different conditions from a single X-ray with 98% accuracy. 70% of the hospitals in this region are using it. Next year, we're expanding to Europe. The second was a green technology company. I'm Dr. Fei Chen, CEO, said a 9-year-old. We've developed an enzyme that completely biodegrades plastic. Any common plastic can be broken down in 3 days. She had dropped out of her PhD program at CMU to start the company. Solving real-world problems is more important than writing a dissertation. We had lunch with the startup employees. Why not work for a big company? Why join a startup? I asked. It's more fun here. You get to change the world, an employee smiled. What if you fail? Tobias asked. Failure is just experience. In America, an entrepreneur who fails is respected. They can always try again. As we left the center, we were in awe. You would never see this in Germany, Tobias admitted. Young Americans want to change the world, Lucas admired. That night, we had another serious talk. What are we chasing? I asked. The young people of America are making their dreams a reality, while we're just following a path laid out for us. Maybe, Tobias said carefully, we're the real ones who are falling behind. That night, I made a decision. A degree from MIT wasn't the goal. The goal was to figure out what I would do with it. America didn't teach me about technology. It taught me an attitude, the courage to challenge the status quo. On the morning of day 7, we visited the Cathedral of Learning at the University of Pittsburgh. More sightseeing? Lucas seemed tired, but the soaring Gothic Revival skyscraper left us breathless. How is this possible? Elena gasped, staring up at the 42-story tower of academia. David explained, as America developed, it also protected and celebrated its grand ambitions. The past and the future coexist here. From the top, we could see the simple life of the city's old neighborhoods along the rivers, contrasted with the high-rise skyline. Forgetting the past isn't progress. Building the future on the foundation of the past, that is true development. In the afternoon, we visited the Mattress Factory, a contemporary art museum that turned an old building into a cultural space. This used to be a warehouse? Lucas was amazed. It was now filled with stunning, room-sized installations. Preserving history while creating new value, a curator explained. We met one of the artists. His work was impressive, blending traditional Appalachian quilting patterns with modern digital projection. It's been a hit in New York, he said. Traditional patterns become modern art. It's about introducing America's unique identity to the world. We saw a craftsman working with reclaimed steel from old mills, using 3D modeling to create stunning sculptures, both traditional and futuristic. That's the Pittsburgh style, he said proudly. On the way back, we were lost in thought. Germany is proud of its history too, Tobias began. But we lock it away in museums, Katerina continued. America brings its history into the present, Lucas concluded. For our last night, we went to Squirrel Hill, known as the city's melting pot. We were shocked. It was a vibrant mix of Jewish, Asian, and European cultures. We had dinner at a restaurant owned by a Vietnamese immigrant. He spoke perfect English. I came to America 10 years ago. This is my home now. Americans welcomed me with open arms. After dinner, we walked the streets. A Japanese ramen shop, a Korean fried chicken joint, an Italian bistro. We went into a coffee shop owned by a man from the Netherlands. His wife was American. We met in Amsterdam, got married, and moved here. I have no regrets. The energy and opportunity in America are incredible. Europe feels stagnant. America is always changing, always growing. In a nearby park, people of all nationalities were gathered for a community event. Americans, Japanese, Koreans, people from all over the world, laughing together. This is the real American melting pot, Tobias said in admiration. As we returned to the hotel, our guide David said his final words. America isn't perfect. We have many problems. But we are always trying to improve, always moving forward. That is our strength. Tomorrow we would leave, but America had already found a place in my heart. On the final morning, as we packed, we all felt a sense of confusion. A week went by so fast, Elena sighed. On the bus to the airport, we began to debrief. What was the biggest shock? I asked. Everything, Tobias said. From the moment we found that wallet, everything exceeded my expectations. When we arrived at the airport, we had a surprise waiting for us. Shannon and David from CMU and Noah from Shenley Academy had come to see us off. You actually came, Katerina was touched. Of course, our friends are leaving, Shannon smiled. David gave us small gifts, university merchandise. Good luck, he said. Noah handed me a letter written in German. Keep in touch when you get back to Germany. Definitely, I replied sincerely. We spent our last hour in a coffee shop. To be honest, we looked down on America at first, I confessed. We know, Shannon smiled. Most foreigners don't know this side of the country. But it's different now, Tobias said. I understand why America is a country with such high potential. David spoke meaningfully. It's not just technology or the economy. It's the attitude of the people that creates a developed nation. Yes, Katerina nodded. The American spirit of challenge, the generosity, the hope for the future. It was time to board. We hugged and promised to stay in touch. As we walked to the gate, I turned back. They were still waving. While waiting to board, we had one last conversation. Did we really change? Tobias asked. We changed, I said with conviction. The us from a week ago and the us now are completely different people. Yes, Elena agreed. Before, I just wanted to be the best. Now, I understand why I need to be the best. Lucas spoke profoundly. America taught us humility, passion, and the value of growing together. The boarding call echoed through the terminal. As I walked onto the plane, the memories of the week flooded my mind. The kind janitor at the airport, the vibrant 24-hour diner, the debate with the CMU students, the futuristic technology at Allegheny Robotics, the passionate high school students, the beauty of the city's skyline, the risk-taking startups, the city where past and future coexist. I'm going to miss this place, I murmured. Just miss it? Tobias smiled. Or are we going to have to be more like Americans? Definitely, we all said in unison. The plane took off, and the land of America grew smaller from my window. This wasn't a goodbye, but a new beginning. When we returned to Germany, we would live differently. More humble, more passionate, with bigger dreams. The greatest gift America gave us was a new perspective on the world, on the future, and on the meaning of growing together. Thank you, America, I thought to myself. I hope we meet again one day, when we have grown.